Hello, dear listeners. This is Editing Hannah here to start this off with a little disclaimer. There have been some major technical difficulties over here at Badly Annotated for the past couple of weeks, and for whatever reason, my audio is really bad on this recording. We did not have time to redo it, but I have fought long and hard with it, and maybe I lost, who's to say, but I've done my absolute best to make it at least passably listenable. Luckily, Jess's audio is fine, and she does most of the talking this week, so you and I mainly get to just sit back, have a snack, and listen to her tell us some wild stories. We apologize sincerely for the mix-up, and we thank you for your patience with our new podcaster shenanigans. Happy listening.
Oh, wiki. Badly Annotated.
Welcome to episode 5 of Badly Annotated Readers Society. What a welcome. My name is Jess.
My name is Hannah.
And today we're talking about the extremely outlandish, shockingly unhinged and strange, silly sci-fi summaries. So if that wasn't enough of a spoiler alert in and of itself, this is me officially telling you that if you don't want to know the plot to anything ever, this is not the episode for you. Please skip it. Please leave. See yourself out. We'll see you next week because I'm gonna spoil things. So how are you? How's your week been? How you doing?
This past week was my last week of the summer semester. Woo-hoo. So I'm free. I had my math final yesterday. It was rough. I feel bad for whoever has to mark whatever bullshit I wrote down. I blacked out. We'll see. I may have passed the class. Who's to say? I'm ignoring that.
Fair.
For the time being, for my mental health.
We're thinking good thoughts.
Yeah, it's over. That's the main thing.
Exactly.
So.
It's in the past.
Yeah. How are you? How you doing?
My week's been alright. I bought my first textbook. That was cool. I actually bought 3, but 2 are digital and 1 I only get for 6 months, which is crazy, but that's okay.
What?
Yeah, it's a digital rental. $70 for a digital book I don't get to keep.
Yeah, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Usually the ones I've seen are like $20 or something.
I'm mad about it, but it's okay.
How else are you doing besides being angry about the book?
How else am I doing? I'm doing good. I got to see my nephew Joseph today, so I got some baby cuddles. I worked on my cross stitch. I read some books today, so it's been pretty good. I'm enjoying it. Good weekend.
Nice. I just worked.
Oh, well.
That's my day today.
Well, you also get to record.
Yeah, that is something, and this is your episode where I just get to sit here like a passenger princess while you tell me about all of your weird unhinged sci-fi, and I'm really here for it, because I think I need that today. I deserve that.
Yeah, and every time I tell Hannah about anything I'm reading, it's a lot of, Jess, are you okay? Or, Jess, what the fuck? Or, Jess, why are you reading this? Or anything along those questioning lines. So I feel like we're in for some good reactions because I have not told her the plot of most of these. So these are going to be truly raw feelings.
I'm so excited. Like, you showed me your notes and I'm just so amped to hear about all of it. And
yeah.
With books like this especially, I'm probably never going to read them.
Never. I cannot see you reading them.
Yeah. And so it's gonna be really cool to hear about the stories anyways, because I'm not interested in reading them, but I am nosy and I do want to hear the tea, you know?
Well, so that's what we're here to provide.
Yeah.
Great. And so the books I've chosen, the first one is a little more on the indie side of publishing, I would say. The second one is just one that I read it in like 2 days because I loved it so much. And then the third one is by the same author as the second one. And that's one that I took notes on as I read it because it was very,
cool.
yeah, it was, I knew it was going to be very like dense, and I'm like, I'm not going to remember this book for the pod if I don't take notes. So I took notes as I read it, just summarizing. And so that's what we're going to be going over.
Cool.
Your girl did some homework. So without further ado, I present to you Mood Swings by Frankie Barnett. For those that can't see, which is everyone, the background of the cover is a cloudy blue sky. And then on the front, it's a boxer, but the face of the boxer is blacked out. And it's got multiple smiley faces over top of the black void that is this dog's face. And then the back is just more clouds. It's got some smiley faces scattered. And so the premise of this book is a world post-fauna. So after animals, okay? So if you recall from previous episodes, I mentioned a really weird name, Genlina. So yeah, the book starts and animals are still alive at this point, and something just clicked in them, all of them. Something clicked in their brains and they went, we're not putting up with this anymore. We're taking these fuckers down. And by the fuckers, I mean people.
This is a genuine fear of mine.
Okay, well, it's only like the first little bit of the book, so it'll be fine.
No, I don't mean that. I don't mean that as in don't tell me about it. I mean that as in genuinely, in my mind, right? Like, if all the animals suddenly decided to band together, it would be over for us. We would be
we'd be done.
Wildly outnumbered. And sometimes the thought just pops into my head that, like, probably the only thing standing in the way of that is the lack of interspecies organization in the animal kingdom. Like, I feel like if they had the intelligence and the communication skills to compare notes and decide that we're the enemies, it would be over. We would be done.
We'd be done.
Like, the only thing that saves us is that they can't organize. But if they could,
it's over for us, bitches.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? I can't honestly say we don't deserve it. So
exactly. Yeah. So yeah, that's
as a species.
That's the world they're living in. And then this billionaire decides that he's gonna make it better for everyone because no one can go outside. It's dangerous. Like blah blah blah. People are suffering. People have been mauled by their cats and their chihuahuas, and like a group of dolphins did some terrible things to a woman in Mexico, and like just like things like that all over the world. So like it's intense at the very beginning of the book. And there's this billionaire and he teams up, he hires some scientists and he's like, we're gonna make this happen, boys. And they create a device that emits some sort of sound frequency that humans are immune to somehow. Also, it's never explained what happened exactly with the animals. They just turned on us. I don't know if it's a virus. I don't know if they
organized.
I don't know if they organized. Never explained. Anyway, sound frequency to kill all the animals. It works. They drop dead. We're good. We can go outside again. It's great. Men hire Genlina to dress up as a dog. It's not weird. It's her job.
What? Hold on. Hold on. Okay.
Not in a sexual way.
Such a leap. What? You were just totally running into that. Like, brick wall. Back up. Okay. How did we get here?
It's literally the briefest part of the book, too. It's touched on. And her roommate just judges her for it.
Yeah, fair. What?
Yeah. Also, her roommate is dating a canceled man. He's like officially canceled in society because he abused an ex-girlfriend, but like
Dadle. His name is Dadle? That wasn't a misspeak? His name
that
is
wasn't.
Dadle.
No.
I'm sorry. His name is Dadle, and he's judging Jenlina for being paid to act like a dog. You can't judge anyone when your name is Dadle.
Her name's not Dadle.
What?
She's dating a canceled man. I got too excited. I tripped on my sound.
I thought you were telling me that someone's name was Dadle.
No.
Oh my god, I'm leaving that in. Okay, so wait, who is the man? Oh, she's dating the canceled man.
Yes.
Not named Dadle.
No.
Well, listen, the protagonist's name is Jenlina, okay?
Yeah.
Dadle was not that far. That's
Fair.
not a stretch. So I was like, she's dating a man named Dadle.
Named Dadle. No, I can get you his name. It's gotta be in here. Where is it? Come on. His name is Jordan.
Oh.
Yeah.
See, that's less interesting.
Yeah.
We
Jordan's...
should just keep calling him Dadle.
Yeah, okay, so Dadle. He's canceled because he hit his ex.
Listen, valid.
Yeah.
I think that's
but like
fair.
Like this whatever state this society in, I just find it interesting that canceled is like an official title, like doctor, or like he's canceled. Everyone knows he's a canceled man. And like when Daphne started dating Dadle, he was like, "You know I'm canceled, right?" And she was like, "Yeah, what about it?" And it was like this whole like, oh my god, ew scene.
Yeah,
but anyway, that's just like a subplot. Where the fuck am I?
I'm asking myself that, listening to you talk about this stuff. I'm like, what? Okay, proceed.
Okay, so Jenlina usually meets men that she's meeting up with for her services in hotels, obviously. And one night when she's there, she bumps into said millionaire that killed all the animals. And, like, just so happens, like, in an elevator. And I think that they hang out. I don't quite remember, but regardless, they get in contact with each other. And it's almost giving 50 Shades of Grey, where she's like, oh, he's a big CEO. He's got money. He wears a suit every day. He's older. And he's just going, this is a piece of ass. It's like kind of weird, and like no one quite believes it. And by no one, I mean Jenlina's roommate Daphne that dates Dadle. And so she starts spending more time with the billionaire, and also the project that the billionaire is now working on after creating that world-changing machine already is a time machine, because naturally. And so everyone's like, oh, is he going to bring the animals back? Good question. People miss them. Like, people literally carry plants around now because they need an emotional attachment to something. And hippie white girls will wear succulents on their earrings. Like, it's crazy.
Oh my god, that's just like so sad.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
so
so
that's the
sad.
state of society. So that's why they want the animals back, and that's why they think he's going into the time machine or building the time machine.
But you never want to fuck with time. Don't ever fuck with time. Have we learned nothing?
Exactly. And so they are spending more time together, and they're like building trust as they hang out more. And he shows her in like the very back of this piece of property that he has, that he flew her to, by the way, a horse.
Where did the man get a horse?
Whose horse is that?
Why a horse? Why a horse?
There's a horse.
Okay. Why?
Because he can. He's the one that got rid of the animals. Of course he was going to save a few. How did he save them? Oh, never explained.
And is it a vicious horse?
No, it's just a horse. That's the other weird part.
How is it not a
Why
vicious
was the horse not vicious? Don't know.
Does the horse have a name?
No.
He kept the horse and didn't even name the horse?
If it has a name, I just don't remember it because it wasn't memorable.
Oh, well, I don't like this man.
Yeah, he's kind of gross. Anyway, as the story progresses, he takes her to his house in LA, which is like his primary residence, because he goes, "Oh, you like this? I can show you the world." Blah, 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 kind of billionaire shit.
Ew.
Yeah. And by showing her the world, he means showing her his collection of dogs that he also kept for himself.
Okay, low-key, that would get me.
Yeah, they boned in the shed and where he kept the dogs, surrounded by dog food.
Oh.
So it got
that
her.
That would not get me. That would not get me. I would be like, okay, now I'm here with the dogs, please leave.
Nope.
Now I'm here with the dogs, you need to get out. I don't need you here anymore. Like,
yeah.
Like, you told me there were dogs, so I came here with you, but that's it, thanks.
And so, continuing on, he builds the time machine, and it's like a widely anticipated event. So, like, she's not seeing him very often. He's all over the news. Everyone's preparing, and they're like, oh, what are you going to do after this? What are you going to do after this? And he sends her a message going, if it doesn't work, go tell the media about us. Because previously, she had to keep it very discreet. The only person she told was her roommate, and that was it.
Yeah, but the roommate probably told Dadel.
Probably, yeah, definitely. Dadel definitely knew. And so, yeah, he was like, if this all goes south, you should get some money out of it. And do not sell this story for free. Tell them whatever you want about me. Do it for a cost.
This is, like, alarming, because it's like, do you know something I don't, sir? Like, it's like he knows he's gonna die or something? Like, why would you say that? Like, as if you expect it to happen.
Yeah. And so, the time machine day comes, and everyone's watching it live on TV, and then the scientists go in, and they're waiting, and they're waiting, and nothing really happens. And, like, the world just continues on. And then at the end of the book, Jenlina and Daphne are like, you know what we should do? Because Jenlina has, like, never heard from the billionaire again. And so she's like, we are in Plan B time. And you know what that means? We're going to let loose his horse. And the book ends with people seeing this horse running down the road for the first time in a post-fauna world.
That's so anticlimactic.
I know! I was honestly
like,
not that pleased.
You had this whole insane plot, and then, you're like, you know what we're gonna do? We're just gonna release the horse. So what about the dogs, then?
Those were in LA. They're poor. They can't get over there.
Did they get adopted? Did someone find them?
Mm-hmm.
Like, what?
I don't know.
Also, you could have sold the story.
Yeah, and she didn't. She just
get that bag.
Let loose the horse.
And she's poor. Hold on. You said they're poor.
Yeah.
And they didn't get that bag? Well, no wonder they're poor.
They're literal squatters. Their apartment building burned down, and so it was condemned. No one was supposed to live there, and they squatted in the burnt out basement.
Okay, so that was information I needed earlier.
They're very poor.
Now I'm even more suspicious of them than I was of the billionaire, because if you're poor squatting in a burnt out basement and you have the opportunity to get that bag and you don't take it, what is wrong with you?
A lot. She did dress up as a dog.
Right, forgot that bit.
Yeah, I don't trust Jenlina's mental health.
I don't trust Jenlina. Actually,
Period.
I think the person I trust the most is Dadel.
Yeah, to be honest.
To be real.
Yeah. Dadel was somehow the most normal person in the entire story.
I mean, his name was Jordan.
Mm-hmm.
So that is fairly normal. But he just seems like a not great person, obviously, if he's cancelled.
Exactly. Yeah. And so just to keep the ball rolling, I'm just gonna like rapid fire some of my thoughts about it.
Mm-hmm.
Because this was like not one of my highest rated books. Like, I read the whole thing, so like it was good enough.
Yeah, on the rating, I always say like if I finished it, it's at least a 3 stars.
Me too. It was a 3. Because, like...
I finished it, that was it.
Yeah, like, I finished it and I enjoyed it enough to read all of it. And it definitely had some really cool aspects that I would like to see in other books, like, such as the animals all turning on people. I think that's a really cool concept that could be worked on. Also, it was formatted really strangely. So it wasn't standard chapters. It was like sections of book, and in each section there was like numbered parts, and the parts were either like they could be quotes from interviews, they could be like parts of story written in like third person. It was weird. And it would like jump between Daphne to like Jenlina, and all of it was just very strange format-wise. I've never seen it before. I doubt that I'll see it again. And that really added to the whole indie novel experience, because that's really the most solid way to describe it. Anyway, moving on. We have a book that I read in 2 days. I watched the movie. I found out it was a book and immediately bought it on Kindle because I was like, I need to read this. And that is Poor Things by Alistair Gray. So in Poor Things, Godwin Baxter is a scientist. He's incredibly intelligent. He is also devastatingly ugly and just like the most vile human to ever exist naturally.
Ew, okay.
Yeah, so he has one friend, and his name is Archibald McCandless, and that's whose point of view it's from.
Profoundly ugly Godwin and his best friend Archibald.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me?
So going forward, I'm going to refer to Godwin as Godwin, and going forward, I'm going to refer to Archibald via his last name, McCandless, because that's what Godwin calls him, so that's like kind of his name in the book. And so yeah, Godwin Baxter, horribly ugly. He's grossly short. He's very round. He's got the world's worst voice ever. He's terrible to look at. He smells, and it's all of the bad things in a person. But he's insanely smart. He's the smartest guy ever. And he has one friend, so McCandless is his buddy from med school. And yeah, the whole book is written from McCandless's point of view. And so Godwin, he has a scientific dream, okay? And he is blessed with all of the ingredients to achieve said dream when they wash up on a riverbank, 9 months pregnant, and just jumped off a bridge.
What?
Yeah, so...
What is happening? Jessica! Oh, good Lord, give me strength.
And he goes, oh, she's not using this body anymore. I might as well just put it to good use. I've got an experiment to be had. I could change lives. I could save lives. I'm using the body.
What the fuck are you reading? Why would you read that?
Because it gets so much more fun.
No,
like, this is already crazy, dude.
No, babe, that's not fun.
Yeah. So he removes the infant from her body. He removes the brain from the infant, and he places the brain into the head of the woman. So, fully grown female body, itty bitty baby brain.
I'm sorry, and it worked?
It worked. It worked because this is a book. And this is Alistair Gray. This is what he comes up with. And so that's how he brings into the world Bella Baxter. And so when McCandless meets Bella for the first time, she has the brain of about a 2-year-old. Okay. Her brain ages very rapidly, not in time with a normal human brain. Like, it's racing to catch up with the body. Okay. So she's about 2 when she meets McCandless for the first time. She is a toddler. He immediately falls in love with her.
Ugh, of course he did, because infantilized women are just all the rage.
Yeah, so...
Good God. Ew.
There's some ickiness there where it's just like,
There's some ickiness, all the ickiness. A boatload.
that's a child.
Yeah, ew.
Yeah. And so Bella's brain is rapidly maturing, and her body seems to remember certain urges and sensations. So Bella and McCandless agree to get married.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But before Bella can marry McCandless, she meets another man that says she needs to see the world before she settles down, and she agrees, obviously.
She's 7, mentally.
Yeah, and he goes, I'll travel with you. I'll take you places. I'll show you the world, baby. And she goes, okay. Because also, this guy's hot. Okay? This guy's hot. McCandless is fine. But, like, she's gotta sow those oats, you know? And so Bella and this man travel around Europe together, and she drives him literally insane with how much sex she wants from him.
Right, we talked about this one briefly.
Yeah, now you remember. Yeah, she wants to get boned 24/7. She is desperate, okay? She gets him to do it with her, and then 10 minutes later, she's like, let's go again. And he goes, whoa, 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 whoa. And she goes, no, one more time. And they do it one more time. And then he's like, oh, I need to rest. And she's like, oh, one more time. And, like, she drives him to the breaking point. She exhausts this man. Okay.
Oh my god. Okay. Who has the time or the energy? Seriously.
A 7-year-old in a fully matured woman's body does. We learn of her travel through 2 letters. The first from the man describing what an absolute lunatic Bella is. And the second from her about what she saw traveling and how quickly men tire out. These letters are read to McCandless from Godwin. So Bella and the guy mailed these letters to Godwin Baxter, and he's reading them to McCandless because he's like, yo, you'll never guess. I just got word from Bella. Guess what she's doing? Everything she can. Bella returned home after her escort went to the madhouse, and now that she has adventured, she is all set to marry McCandless.
And is that how it ends?
No.
Oh, no.
This is where the movie ends.
I was really hoping it was.
But we keep going.
Oh my god, this is a movie, right?
Yeah. So if you want to watch it, there's even more fun in the book. At the wedding, there's an objection. A man claims he is already married to this woman, and this wedding cannot take place.
I have so many objections. What do you mean at the wedding there was an objection? I have so many objections. What?
Yeah, there was one objection, and it's because he said, this woman is already mine. This is an object. I bought it first. He doesn't explicitly say it that way, but I'm putting words in his mouth.
Paraphrasing.
Yeah. So her husband explained that she is an erotomaniac, and he wanted to commit her to a psych ward for this madness, which is what pushed her to the bridge at the very beginning of the book. And he said that she was a sex fiend and she was crazy. And Bella says all she ever wants is to cuddle at the end of the day. She just wants to cuddle.
She just wants to cuddle.
She just wants to feel wanted. Physical touch is her love language. And this man did not want to touch her ever. Except for the one time he obviously did. Never again. Like, as soon as she was pregnant, he was like, I cannot touch you at all. Like, separate bedrooms. And that's what drove her away.
Jeez.
So
he's just, like, accusing her of...
Yeah, of erotomania. And he's like, I'm putting her in the madhouse. That's where she belongs.
I'm sorry, the madhouse? When is this set?
50s?
Oh, okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, the literary meaning here, if I want to put my degree to use, seems to me to be some kind of extreme, like, exploration of the sexual repression of women in history through, like, a satirical extreme.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, I would say so.
Okay.
Also, in the end, McCandless promises to cuddle her every night. And Godwin reasons that since the brain belonged to the infant, this woman is not technically the same person that married that man. And so there they go. There was a lot more arguing than that, but that's the gist of it. And so, yeah, it's about women and their autonomy.
Cool. But everyone was just okay with the fact that Godwin did this?
Well, there was some fucked upness about it because at first he was like, that's my wife. And then once Godwin was like, well, not really. He was like, that's my child.
Oh.
And
yeah, because then the brain is genetically half that guy.
Yeah.
Ew.
But also, as I said, the brain was maturing faster. So she was like a young woman at that point as well.
Yeah, no one asked her.
Well, I think that's how they resolved it, was she was like, I want to cuddle him, and he said he'd cuddle me, so I'm going to marry him.
Also, the fact that they didn't ask her is probably part of the point.
It's the 50s, babe. No one does that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah.
And that's how it ends?
Yeah, that's how it ends.
I mean, happily ever after for her, I guess.
Exactly. She gets to live her best life.
But that was icky and weird the whole time.
It was a fantastic book. I really loved it. I was entertained throughout the entire thing. The pacing was excellent. The writing was memorable. Like, when Bella Baxter was growing up, she was obsessed with words at some point and synonyms. And the way that the author wrote it, like, she would find a word and then like go off on a tangent of synonyms and then like continue on with her sentence, and like it was very unique. But Aleister Gray in general just has such a very specific voice as well, which is why I read my next book actually, which is Lanark, A Life in 4 Books, also by Aleister Gray. And even though the like subtitle question mark of the book is A Life in 4 Books, it's actually one book, and it's essentially divided up into segments that he titles as each book.
Okay. Like long chapters?
Yeah, and then there's like chapters too.
Gotcha.
There's also an unrelated prologue, an interlude, and an epilogue a few chapters before the end of the book. Also, the book orders are 3, 1, 2, 4. So we really throw convention to the wind. This is the one that I took notes for as I read because it was just so dense. There were so many minute details that were just not going to stick otherwise, but just like were important to the plot. And as you can tell, it's the plot that really gets the reactions that I'm going for here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like for me, what speaks to me is, like, characters and, like, overarching themes. Like, in the other one that you just talked about, what is it called again?
Poor Things?
Poor Things. In that one, like, the concept of, like, sexual repression against women and things like that, like, that theme and that sort of, like, satirical exploration, very cool. That's the kind of thing that would get me. But the plot would have off-put me so quickly.
Like, they had me in the first half, not gonna lie. But Hannah, you completely fucking lost me in the second half, though.
For me, it's the opposite. Like, as soon as the theme, the, like, message, the point becomes clear, then it's like, okay. But in the first half, I was like, what is happening?
I'm just taking you on the entire journey. And this is a wild one. And I could not figure out the theme on this one. And then you'll see what I figured out at the very end. Okay, so Lanark has a dark, dry piece of skin above his right elbow that doctors call dragon hide, and they tell him to ignore it. The dragon hide eventually takes over his entire arm, making it look like it should be attached to an actual dragon, and was 6 inches longer than the arm on the other side.
Okay, so this is the first plot point?
Yep.
You're taking me through the plot right now.
Yeah.
Because that sounded like a fever dream.
No. This is plot.
All right, I'm here. I'm here for it. Keep going.
Exactly. Yep. So dragon arm. Also, people keep just disappearing. The lights go out, come back on after a few minutes, and someone is just gone. Lanark comes face to face with a giant mouth.
Okay. It sounds like you're just reading me my dream journal.
It really feels like that. Yeah, it's literally just a giant floating mouth. I cannot describe it better than that. It's exactly what you think I'm trying to say. That's what it is.
Is it like a human mouth?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Mm-hmm.
Yep, it's just giant and floating. Like, big enough that you could crawl inside it.
Ew.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so the mouth tells him to strip completely naked and to dive head first.
Into what?
Into the mouth.
Oh.
Yeah.
Ew.
Yeah. So Lanark got shy and he kept on his socks and underwear. His dragon arm also had a mind of its own. So when Lanark climbs into the giant mouth, the arm grabs onto a molar and will not let Lanark drop. And so Lanark yells for the giant mouth to just bite, and he's going, bite, bite! And so the giant mouth bites down and, like, chomps the arm so that he lets go. But that means he didn't go head first as well. So 1, he's not naked. 2, he's not head first.
Mans did not follow instructions. He did not understand the assignment.
No, he didn't. He got close, admittedly, better than other people.
There have been other people?
A lot of other people. And so when Lanark wakes up, he's being sponge bathed by nurses.
In the asylum?
In the hospital. They call it the Institute.
Of course.
Also, his arm is back to normal. So that's nice.
Okay. I'm just accepting it now.
Yep. So when talking to his doctor, it is indicated that those that come down naked and head first don't get quite so injured. He also learned that patients at that hospital then become employees of the hospital. Because how would they leave? Because the way that they got there was obviously one way. So you're just there.
What?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. That's just the way it is. And so this entire time, Lanark is going, I need a window. I want to see outside. And he's denied over and over again. And eventually he just nags a doctor enough and he's finally allowed to look out a window. And he sees mountains upon ocean, upon rising and setting suns, upon villages on hillsides. And the view just keeps getting bigger and mistier. And the doctor tells Lanark that they are under a mountain, more specifically, a set of mountains. And what he was looking through was not a window, but a screen that is attached to a reflector above a cluster of peaks. So like above all these mountains for patients such as him that don't want to feel contained so that they have something to look at and feel like they're outside.
Why a window? Like like I'm thinking if I'm in this situation, right? I want a one-way ticket back the fuck home.
Well, he asked about that, and they were like, well, no, you obviously can't go home the way you got here. And he goes, shit, you're probably right. And he's like, well, is there any way I can leave? And he's like, well, you could leave through the intercylindrical zone, but you can only do that if you have a partner going with you. And going through that with a woman would count as being married. So you really have to be sure. And also, not many other people want to leave here. So good luck finding someone.
That's wild. Why wouldn't they want to leave? I'd want to leave.
It's very dangerous going across the intercylindrical zone.
Okay, what is that?
Yeah, so he later learns there's a time discrepancy where he is now and where he was, or between where he is now and where he was. It took years off his life arriving, so who knows how old he would be once he gets back. So that's why most people don't leave, because there's a good chance that you just die out there.
Oh, yeah, you could just go back and then you'll shrivel up and die like the hag entangled when
exactly.
When her hair gets cut.
So that's why most people stay.
But how do we know this is true?
I mean, did you see how he got there? Like, of course it's going to be true. That's some wild shit.
Yeah, but I don't know. I'm suspicious.
Well, anyway, just assume that it's true for now. Lanark is assigned to a patient that is so covered in dragon hide she's even grown wings, and the other doctors see her as a lost cause. But Lanark reads to her.
Oh.
Yeah. When she is about to, quote-unquote, go salamander, which i.e. means the heat inside of her explodes, and they, use the heat as an energy source in this underground institute. Lanark stays in the room instead of letting it be sealed, and once the mist dissipates, there's a woman he met in the real world. Her name is Rima, except she's now blonde. So in place of this dragon, underneath the dragon hide, it was actually Rima, who he met back in the real world.
So are people going there to be treated for dragon hide? Is that what happens? And then that's why the dragon arm wouldn't let him go because he knew that, the dragon hide somehow knew that, this is going to be the end of it?
Dragonhide is one of the illnesses that they treat at the Institute. Basically, there are certain conditions that if you go to a normal doctor, they know that it's beyond their pay grade, basically, and they just tell you not to worry about it. But eventually, if it gets serious enough, one of these mouths will just come and get you. And then you're there.
That's such a wild way to get patients into the hospital.
Yeah.
You couldn't have just sent, a car,
Nope. Mouths.
Okay. So then why do they have to be naked?
It makes it easier. Like I said, they get injured otherwise. One of the other patients, he was a soldier, and he kept his gun on him, and it imprinted into his leg, and that's what killed him. And they're like, if he wasn't carrying this, he would have survived, but his injuries were too big because it, compresses you and squeezes you.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
like an esophagus.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's.
I'm really disturbed that I'm on board so quickly.
Mm-hmm.
That I understand what's happening.
You're like, oh yeah, the esophagus, got it.
I've oriented myself disturbingly quickly in this story. Okay, go ahead.
Lanark asks about his past before he was at Unthank, which is the place he was before the hospital, and an oracle enters his mind and speaks to him from inside of his head. The oracle tells his own story first, about how he was so obsessed with numbers in the mind that reality started to fade, and eventually he lost his body. Now he was just a mind, forced to face his own past, until he heard Lanark asking for his, which he can see in perfect clarity. And that is the end of book 3. Book 1 starts with Duncan Thaw's childhood, which was Lanark's name as a child. So somewhere in his life, his name changed from Duncan Thaw to Lanark. Reading in the author's preferred order, this is given being told by the oracle. Reading the book, quote unquote, in order, the story begins with Lanark's childhood.
Okay, I like it better with the oracle.
Yeah, we all do. That's why it's the preferred order. So Duncan's parents are very strict, so when he doesn't come home and an air raid begins, the following day, he was expecting to be punished, but he wasn't, and he knew that he was not in the same house he had left yesterday. That is never again talked about, but it weirded me out.
Wait, he went somewhere?
Yeah, he was just out and about, and then an air raid started, and he wasn't at home, and normally his mom would have beat his ass for that. But she didn't. He was like, you are not my mom. It was like an other mother situation.
Ew. I hate doppelgangers.
It's never talked about again.
That's so creepy.
So it couldn't have been that important, turns out.
Yeah, but that's so wild. What the heck?
Yeah, it was a weird one. So for some reason, all of the moms and children, including Duncan, his mother and sister, get onto one of a procession of red buses, and all the fathers being left behind. They meet their father again after days of driving when they step off a bus at the coast, and there he is. This was a very small part of the book, but it just felt very peculiar to me. And after that, they started living at a hostel as a family. So Duncan is a teenager now, doing poorly in school, except for English and art, and has discovered masturbation. So
what is with you in these books?
What is with Alistair Gray and characters discovering masturbation in all of his books?
Yeah, really. I feel like you could really study Alistair Gray psychologically if you just
you
read all
really
these books.
could. Yeah. So Duncan discovers wetting that whistle, and he happens upon the circumstance of being accepted into an art school off his talent alone, and his mother also dies from something seemingly like cancer, but they never specifically say.
Oh.
Yeah. And now we're at the interlude. So Lanark sees Duncan in sepia on a swing set, reflecting about his future going to art school, and recognizes that he was never good at being happy. And Rima says to continue on with the story. End of book 1.
She's like, yeah, get on with it. I don't care.
She's like, that's nice.
That's nice, but what's the tea?
Yeah. So all of book 2 is Duncan in art school being a terrible student. He has talent, but cannot commit to finishing a single thing, and it pisses off his teachers. Reasonably so. He goes to the hospital for his asthma until the doctors kick him out as they believe he is staying sick to remain in care. He is commissioned to paint a church, is given 4 months to finish before Christmas, could not finish as there is always something else to work in, and still cannot complete it by Easter. He tries to hire a hooker, but once she sees the quote-unquote dry skin on him, says she cannot afford to risk it. Then things get weird.
Then things get weird.
Then things get weird.
Oh my god, Jess.
Get ready. It's montage time.
Okay. I'm here. I'm listening.
He sees a half-mauled cat speak to him. A crow is following him, but also he is the crow. And then he kills a girl who he once dated that is set to marry someone new. The doctors break into his home instead of the police, and they took him to a hospital where he awoke 2 weeks later. Book 4 begins with another fantastical montage, where Duncan eventually drowns himself in a river, as if an alternative ending to his having killed someone. When he tells Rima he wishes the oracle were more clear, she says that the oracle was a woman and was talking about her life, not his. Lanark tells Rima that he killed another woman because he couldn't get to her, despite Rima not being in Duncan's history retelling, and it was a girl called June he killed. Was there ever a June? Or did the oracle just slip Rima in there? Or if there was, is Lanark just wanting it to have been Rima that he killed? Who's to say?
Oh, okay. You know what? I'm gonna listen to that back while editing and try to make sense when I've got some more time. Because what?
Probably a good idea, because I know there's a lot to unpack.
The part about the like there's a crow following him and also he is the crow killed me. Because somehow I understand.
Yeah, it's like he was like on the street watching this crow flying above him, but also he could see himself from the crow's perspective. So I think he was actually just tripping balls.
Yeah. But I don't know, I get it.
Yeah.
I get that feeling.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
So
oh my god.
The doctor returns wearing essentially wizard's robes and says he is now the Chamberlain.
Me for real.
It is time for Lanark and Rima to leave. They are taken to Lord Monboddo, and once it is decided where they're going, they are stamped with thumbprints on their foreheads as a sort of passport that will only come off when exposed to sunlight. Keep in mind, Unthank is a very dark place, so it's not going to come off in Unthank.
Unthank? Where's Unthank?
Unthank is where he was before the mouth.
Before the mouth?
Yeah, that's where Lanark was to start with. Unthank is like a town.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Lanark and Rima have to cross the intercalendrical zone to exit the mountain, which is a liminal space where time is unpredictable and meaningless. An hour can be equal to months, can be equal to years upon years upon years, etc. So time is just completely unpredictable. And like I said, this is why most people don't leave the hospital, because it's a risk they're just not willing to take.
Fair.
But Lanark now has Rima, so he's allowed to go. So along this journey, roads go both uphill and downhill simultaneously. There's a constant mist. They reach the same door more than once. And also, Rima is now with child.
And this is when they went through the, what is it called?
The intercalendrical zone.
Okay. Is that like a landscape they have to reversed or something?
Oh, it's just like a liminal space.
Oh, weird.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. This is like, yeah, it's really like a dream
Yeah, it's
where like
straight up a
just
fever
like
dream.
a whole bunch of flashes of like different things happening in different random characters in different like random places that make absolutely no sense.
Yeah, this is why I had to take notes.
Yeah, fair. I'd be taking notes too.
Yeah. So Lanark and Rima hitch a ride in a tanker driving in a similar direction. The driver offers to give them half his money in exchange for a drawing of Rima naked.
A drawing, but not a picture?
Well, Lanark's an artist.
Oh, right.
Yeah. So he wants a drawing by Lanark of Rima butt-ass naked, and he'll give them half of all of his worldly money for it.
That's strange.
Yeah, it is. Lanark falls asleep and awakes to them getting kicked out of their ride. Shocker. As they continue towards Unthank, a terrible accident lays ahead. Excuse me. A tanker has overturned and the road to Unthank is impassable. But a police officer shows them over to a subway footpath towards Unthank. It is pitch black and completely iced over.
Of course.
Yeah. As they are losing hope, a clergyman appears and says, "Oh, sorry I'm late. Right this way." As if they had just been expecting him and had decided to brave the tunnel under the assumption that he was standing them up. But yeah. There he is. And he leads them out of the tunnel and into a cemetery that Lanark recognizes. The clergyman announces that he also has a medical degree and Rima needs rest. She is pregnant after all. A cathedral is the center of government in Unthank now, because why have a division between church and state? The two finally get to rest, and both have aged. Rima's hair has also gone back to black, which was her original hair color. We get a bit more info about how democracy and economy works, and it's all under the power of the creature. It divides groups just to have the stronger half outlive the weaker half, and creates disparity to fill and profit. There's not a lot of detail given about the creature. It is just in complete control of like the economy, the stock market, all of it. And we just live with that.
This all seems like very metaphorical.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%.
That's like totally like late stage capitalism metaphors happening here.
Yeah, 100%.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
I do see again, the themes are getting me.
Mm-hmm. The baby is born, and we learn that time in Unthank is also unreliable. They are so near the intercylindrical zone that the infant ages remarkably quickly. Lanark goes to look for a job, and the council gives him one in inquiries, where he's to hear people's complaints and tell them they'll be reached out to, and they won't be. He takes one inquiry and then immediately leaves.
Okay.
So, respect.
Yeah, I guess. Like, go off, I guess.
Yeah.
You're really not going to hear back again because he just left, so.
Yeah, he took one and just went, I can't handle this.
Just no, yeah. Absolutely not.
Mm-hmm. The overturned tanker from earlier turned out to have catastrophic environmental effects on Unthank, and the sewers are filled with toxic gas. Rima took Alex, which is the name of their son, and left Lanark. Lanark is essentially made the mayor of Unthank, as they need him to go to another town to tell them Unthank is not being cared for by the government as it should be, and having a title will make people listen to him more. Lanark boards an eagle plane, both bird and machine.
Interesting.
Yeah. And tries to exit when he thinks of his son, but the bird is already off to Provin with Lanark snugly inside the satin cavity. Turns out this gathering is basically a teachers' convention for delegates, with talks each day that finish with quote-unquote movements and voting. Lanark is brought to meet the quote-unquote king of Provin, who shows Lanark some paper that reads as a narration of what he is doing in the moment. So I wrote down the sentence in the book where I was just like, oh, okay. And it said, much of it seemed to be dialogue, but Lanark's eye was caught by a sentence in italics, which said, and then this part is in italics, much of it seemed to be dialogue, but Lanark's eye was caught by a sentence in italics, which said, and I was just like, oh, cool.
Interesting.
The king tells Lanark that he is his author. He was once a part of God, but he went sour and was excreted out, and now he has created Lanark.
Okay.
Yeah. It gets really meta here, and the author explains why the books are ordered 3-1-2-4, with a prologue, interlude, and epilogue, which is where we are now, a few chapters before the end of the book. He wanted the story to be read in this order, but wanted to encourage readers to imagine it elsewise. They talk about how Lanark is made of printed words, and he only exists should someone read his print and then come to life in their minds. Lanark asks what is entertaining about him failing his entire life, and the author says that's what people are drawn to. He would not be entertaining were he successful.
Oh my god. Okay.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh, go off. Like,
can't say it's wrong. People love conflict.
Hard truth. And so this is another quote that I wrote down, and this is from the author. And keep in mind, this character that I'm referring to as the author is not straight up Alistair Gray being like himself in it. Like, it's a character that's modeled after him as the author, but it's not him.
Okay. Interesting. This is all very interesting.
Yeah,
cool.
And it's all in the same book.
Yeah. yeah.
So the quote is, "I'm like God the Father, you see, and you are my sacrificial son. And a reader is the Holy Ghost who keeps everything joined together and moving along."
Oh, that's a fire quote.
Wasn't it?
That's crazy. And, like, you're not wrong.
I find it really interesting when he was talking about how Lanark only exists if somebody's reading him, because it kind of reminded me to when we were talking about why I only read a couple books at a time, and I was like, I got to make sure that they're okay. And you're like, Jess, like, the plot does not change. I'm like, you don't know. You don't know.
Yeah.
What if they're not okay? I want to be responsible. So the author goes on to say that should the reader close the book, Lanark vanishes and he is just an ordinary man. So the purpose of a preemptive epilogue is to get all three on the same page for the imminent ending. Because as much as the author can make Lanark do whatever he wants, he recognizes that the readers unluckily identify with Lanark's feelings.
Yeah.
And want him to be happy too. And so this interview is to discuss how to make that happen while keeping it an interesting story. The author proposes an ending where Lanark returns to Unthank and sees it going up in flames, with mouths devouring everyone before the city floods wholly, and he gets to die in the company of Rima. Lanark says having a world come to an end is a lazy way to end a story if he could not conjure up anything better. He was like, nah.
You know, it's bad when your own characters are judging you.
Yeah. So Lanark asks what happens to his son in this ending, but the author did not know about Alexander. Lanark tells him Alex was born in the cathedral, which had not been written yet, and the author says there isn't enough time for a baby to have been born then.
This is giving me, like, similar vibes of, like, because, like, I write, and so I'm kind of on, like, the writer community on Instagram, and it reminds me of how, like, writers are always saying that, like, sometimes their characters have minds of their own, and, like, you can have a whole idea and a whole plot set out, and you know exactly what you're going to write, but then you get there and suddenly, like, the characters are going in a different direction that you didn't plan. This feels like that. That's really
And he was
cool.
like, whoa, when did you have a kid? And he was like, you better write him into it. I swear to freaking God. Yeah. The author says that he could have written Lanark to like him, but that wouldn't have been as entertaining for the reader. And Lanark leaves after coming to the conclusion that this epilogue is a waste of time, as his wishes have no final consequence on what will eventually be written. So he just leaves.
Ooh, this is very, like, metaphor for God kind of a thing.
So Lanark then gets pissed drunk, connects with a guy he used to know that is now a quote-unquote very important pimp, in which I put great band name in brackets, and gets arrested for public urination. Lanark is bailed out after 2 days in jail, during which deals have been made to sell Unthank's resources. Lanark was not sent because he was the best man for the job. He was sent as a distraction so that deals could be made quietly behind closed doors. And,
Shady.
you know, was getting Incarcerated for 2 days, he achieved that. Good job, Lanark. So he makes it to hear the speeches on the third day, and Lord Monboddo, who is a very high political power, also in which time has passed. It's a completely different person with the title Lord Monboddo than it used to be.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just the title. But he proposes that they go to space for an unlimited energy source needed to create enough food to nourish the overpopulated planet. Lanark interrupts this and announces that the Lord Monboddo is either lying to everyone or is being fed false information. He is granted a personal interview with Monboddo because public defamation does not go well. He is told that leaders will not help Unthank because they cannot exploit its people for anything useful. So, sick burn.
Jeez. Your people are useless.
Yeah, basically. Lanark decides it is time for him to leave since he's useless there. A hatch in the floor opens and he lowers himself into another bird plane. Lanark begins to feel like he's falling endlessly, the same as when he went to the Institute. He awakens in a hospital and thinks that that's where he must be, but everything is at an angle, as if the hospital is sloped.
Ew.
Alexander comes in as an adult and dressed like a soldier and tells Lanark that they need to leave. It's giving Season 1, Episode 1 Walking Dead.
Yeah.
When they get outside, the entire land is sloped and on fire. Lanark thinks of the ending he had discussed with the author and knows that the floods are next. He hears the water coming, but then it recedes, and Rima points out that Lanark was wrong before she again leaves him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very, like, Revelations.
Yeah, right? A man from the Ministry of Earth approaches Lanark and tells him that he is going to die at 12:07 p.m. the next day, and that it won't hurt much. That's the end of the book.
Oh, we don't see the death. That's just the end.
That's just the end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's it.
All that,
Yeah.
just you're gonna die tomorrow at 12:07 p.m. That's it.
It won't hurt that much. Whatever that means.
I feel like that's the best way that could have ended. I think that was the perfect ending for that book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, I agree. And then there was an interview after with Alistair Gray, the author, that reveals that Lanark is, in fact, autobiographical with inspiration from Kafka. So, of course, it was a Kafka-esque autobiography because that is the only thing that really explains that. That book was also his very first piece to ever get published, and he worked on it for over 30 years.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is giving like life's work masterpiece
It is
vibes. And honestly, like there are a lot of things in that are fairly like successful.
Yeah. That was his very
cool.
first published book. And yeah, from there he went on to write a lot more. I've only read 2 of his pieces so far, but I expect that I'll probably end up reading more in the future. But yeah, that one was a journey.
Yeah, this seems like definitely your type of author.
Yeah.
And that's really cool.
He like just describes things in such a niche, like just left of normal type of way that I'm just so intrigued by it all.
Cool. That's really fascinating. That last one actually like for me, just listening to that was less of a like what the fuck and more of a okay, this is where we're going. I'm strapped in. Let's find out what's
and
gonna
like
happen.
You really cannot guess what will happen next.
Yeah.
At any point.
Yeah, and then it's like but it also like says a lot of really interesting things along the way, like politically as well.
It does.
Which is really interesting. And like somehow I get it, even though I feel like I shouldn't. like that just seemed I don't know. Yeah, wow. That's crazy. What did you rate that?
4 stars out of 5.
Cool.
I believe I gave it that just because books 1 and 2, so his childhood, were a lot slower paced and kind of harder to get through. But overall, I enjoyed it. It was an experience.
Like long, wasn't it?
It was long. It was like 574 pages.
Yeah, that's long for a weird book.
It was really long for a weird book because there were some parts that would just like it felt like it was stalling out for a moment and then it would pick back up and then it was like we're in a bird. Okay, all right. And then you're like already moved on by the time you're just getting used to that, which is also like just really interesting though. Like I like being jerked around like that, where it's just like, whoa, here's a piece of information, but also that's not actually important, so get over it.
I feel like you just did that to me with all three of these, not just this book. I feel like you just kept being like, yep, here are the facts. Wow, that was crazy. My general thoughts,
She's in a state of shock, folks.
yeah, like, not that I'm judging you at all. Like, read what you want to read, like what you want to like. Obviously, read whatever, like, tickles your fancy. But that's insane, and I don't think I've ever even heard of books this way before, which is weird because I've read a lot of weird shit for my degree.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, that was insane, and also, like, you just went through that so quick. I'm, like, I have whiplash.
I hustled.
With all three of those, because also they're kind of blending together, and so in my head, they're just becoming one book.
Well, like, I really tried to, like, keep it snappy. I'm like, I got a lot to get through here, so I just gotta go.
Yeah. No, that was great. Yeah, that's crazy. And it's also cool. This is one thing that I love about us doing this, is, like, I never would read those, ever.
No, and I said I took notes, but it was actually, like, 12 pages worth of writing.
Wow.
Like, it was a lot.
That's crazy. And so it's like I get to experience that, like, by proxy.
Yeah.
And I never would have otherwise. That's just really cool. Yeah. And like the first one messed up. I'm concerned for that author. What? Mm-hmm. Second one,
that one's my favorite out of the three.
Really?
Yeah, it's the second one.
Yeah. The first one also was, like, anticlimactic.
Yeah, it was. That was my biggest beef with it.
Yeah, like, you could have done so many more cool things, and there were so many, like, things that did not get wrapped up. They just did it and did
the weirdest thing they could instead.
Yeah, strange.
Yeah.
And then the second one, just, like, I don't know, I think it's too icky for me.
Mm.
And then the third one is actually really interesting and says a lot of cool things.
Yeah.
That's my take on books I've never read.
Yeah, there you go. Well, for more hot takes, you can check us out on Instagram or Threads, both at Badly Annotated Pod, or you can send us an email, and that would be at badlyannotedpod@gmail.com, or, there's contact us things on, like, everywhere. Linktree, Buzzsprout, all of the things. You can get in touch with us. We're easily reachable. So yeah, feel free to.
Also, personal request, would love it if someone would email me their reactions to the plots that we just went through. Because I would love to know somebody else's thoughts. Because I know that, like, you thoroughly enjoy this stuff. And, like, this is, like, what, like, really gets you going with reading. And I know that, like, I just feel like I was just dragged through somebody else's fever dream.
So you want to make sure someone else was also dragged through a fever dream?
No, I just want to see if there were any alternate reactions. Because I feel like books like that are so... They bring out different things for different people. And I don't know, I'm just curious.
There we go. So email us your alternate reactions. In our bio on Instagram, there's a link tree. The contact us link does go right to our Gmail. So that's where you can go for Hannah.
Just for me.
Just for you. And in the meantime, best wishes. Kindest regards.
Sincerely, Jess and Hannah.